Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Tara, and we are going to talk about Star Trek Picard Season 1, Episode 8. It is called Broken Pieces. So, full spoilers for the episode, as always. So first things first, do you know what the first thing I want to address is? I want to address the fact that Commodore O, we have been debating if she's Vulcan or Romulan since her first appearance, and what is she? What is she? She's both!
Somehow that never crossed either of our minds.
She's half Romulan, half Vulcan, so she's got a Romulan mummy or daddy and a Vulcan mummy or daddy. They bumped the nasties, and out popped Commodore O. That's maybe that's why she's called O, because they realised they were pregnant and went, oh, and that's what we'll call her. We'll call her O.
Pretty sure that would be her last name. Although maybe they don't have last names. They don't have last names. So yeah, you're right. It would be a first name.
See, I was smart. There we go. All right. So,
yeah. Spock isn't like Spock Sarek.
That is true.
He's just Spock. Yeah. Unless you think his first name is Mr.
His first name is Michael. Michael Spock.
I hate it.
His friends call him Mikey. Now, I've just ruined the entire original series for you. Every time you watch an episode, you're just going to think his name is Mikey. And just put you off.
That will never happen.
Yeah, I tried, people. All right, so this episode brought a lot of answers with it. It kind of felt, even though we've got 2 episodes left, this very much felt like the penultimate episode, even though it's not. And I think that's because what's probably going to happen is we're probably going to feel like the last 2 are probably going to feel like a 2-parter.
I think it is a 2-parter. Like if you look at the episodes, it's part 1 and part 2.
Oh, is it? Is it literally? I haven't even checked. Let me go forward and find out. Oh, it is. Yeah, well, fair enough. I mean, see, that's how smart I am. I got that. Even without looking.
Did you really look?
I did not
just
look
now, or did you already know?
I did not look before. I looked now. I did not look before. That's the sequence of events. Damn it. So this episode is mainly the main crew on the ship dealing with the fallout of everything that's been happening, coming to terms with certain things, kind of figuring things out, having some emotional, dramatic beats between certain characters. On the cube, we have, of course, Elnor running around. 7 of 9 shows up to save his ass out of nowhere. And I'm going to critique their plot a little bit, because their plot, I felt, suffered for something that I've complained about here or there on the show, but they're the ones in this episode with the plot points that feel like they're very rushed, where everything they're doing sounds like a cool idea on paper, right? Everything where, like, ultimately to win this fight against all the Romulans, because eventually Rizzo just decides to start killing everyone on the cube. It's like, okay, we just have to clean house now, let's just kill everyone. And she's going around shooting people. To combat this and to win, 7 of 9 decides to sort of re-establish the collective, not to the main collective, but just on this one cube, establish a collective where she is the queen, and she sends out the orders to everyone to fight back. And she makes this point before she does it, like, hey, but this is kind of dangerous because I might not want to give this up. I might not be able to come back to just being me. But I felt like the choice to do it, actually implementing it, the actual fighting that occurs, and then her giving it up, all feel like they happen really quickly with no resistance or drama.
Yeah, I think part of the reason is because there is a surprise that's pulled, where as soon as she accepts it and does it and becomes like this little Borg queen on this one cube, all of the Borg are released into space. So maybe because of that, she's not as tempted to hold on to the family of the collective. And I do think it's a cool storyline as well, that she has to go through this, and we get the disclaimer of, I might not want to give it up, because especially if you know her character from Voyager, it took a while before she accepted the fact that she was no longer Borg. She went through a lot of loneliness because she didn't have the collective anymore. And, in Voyager, because it's done over like a season, if not all 3 or 4 seasons she was on the show, it's we buy it a lot more that this is a real struggle for her. But here, you're right. It is like, okay, I can do this. I have to do this because we have no other choice. And then it's done, and then it's over.
Yeah,
It's so quick.
It's very, very rushed, and I feel like like all those moments where she says, "Oh, I may not be able to give it up," and she's telling Eleanor this, and Eleanor's just kind of reacting because he doesn't really understand anything that's going on. Like, I feel like it's telling me it's dramatic, but without actually being dramatic, and that's kind of a failure of like what the scene's trying to do. On paper, it's a cool concept. What she's doing sounds cool, but ultimately, it doesn't feel like it adds up too much. So that's what's happening on the cube. There is a scene at the start which doesn't have a whole lot of context to begin with, outside of the fact that this was so I keep almost saying Commander. Commodore O is basically to Rizzo and a series of other Romulans, the Zatvash, presumably, are being given what she kind of gave at least part of to Jirai, which is what happened before with Synths, the reason why they have to stop it at all costs. And these visions are so extreme that every single Romulan who sees them, other than Rizzo, goes psychotic and kills themselves. Well, I mean, obviously the one that's still on the on the cube with Rizzo doesn't kill herself.
Merida, I don't know her name, but she has the brave girl's red curly hair.
Yeah, but the rest of them all commit suicide because it's so extreme. This was probably my other big complaint of the episode, is that this scene again felt so rushed that them all starting to kill themselves all just started to almost feel comical in a way, because it was just so like quickly that all these people were starting to commit suicide, and it felt like it was cutting around too much. There was no kind of like, I don't know, weight to it. It felt just very like, see, this is how serious it all is because they're all killing themselves. I felt the kind of we're trying to force you to see how dangerous this all is and how crazy it is because they're all committing suicide, without it really feeling like the suicides really, felt like anything.
Yeah, maybe. It was cool to have like the realization that all these characters are connected, like that's a Zatvash, and because we saw the flashback of it before through the images that were given to Girardi, and I don't know, like I guess I still liked getting an answer for it, at least, even if the scene didn't play out as like a horror movie fan would want to see. Maybe.
No, it's not a horror movie thing. It's just like
the one Romulan that like blew her brains out with the phaser was pretty like extreme. That one like made me go, whoa.
Do you know what I think it is in the scene? I think it's the direction. It's just too over the top. There's too many cuts. It's jumping around like it's an action scene, when like this would be far more effective. Like if this was one wide shot where we see them all just sort of standing there quietly, and then they start like acting out and then eventually killing themselves without many cuts, it would probably feel really stark and really kind of like cold and like, holy shit, again, not like a horror movie, but the horror of what this is, like the idea of like just how insane it is that they've all done this. But instead it's sort of cutting around, there's lots of quick flashes and there's lots of like it's shot as if it's like this intense action scene, and I don't know, I think that it went against the mood that I think it was trying to really achieve. Now don't worry, I'm not going to shit in most of the rest of the episode because I thought the rest of it was for the most part pretty solid, but
I really like this episode too. I like the opening a lot also, and I think I don't know if it's the direction as much as it is the score. I really don't like the score in this show. It's like there's one scene like after the opening where there's some kind of revelation and we get like the drums snares like kick in or something. You're like, come on, this is just so much. Like, just let this be like a silent moment of character reflection.
Hey, that's
why are they amping everything up with the score so much? Hey,
this is exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying the editing was doing the same thing that you don't like about the music. It was overdoing it. It was like every da 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 da. You know. I think the scenes with 7 of 9 and Eleanor could have benefited from less, like a little toned down score. You know, let this really be like a moment of like
a character, you know, dealing with her emotions without the score telling you to be like, oh, this is tense action.
Yeah, actually,
on the edge of your seat.
there was a moment where she said to Eleanor, like, you know, why did you stay behind? Why didn't you go with them? And I'm like, that's a good question. This is a great question, 7 of 9. It's a great question.
And he sort of said what we said, like, Picard set me free and I chose to go to the people that needed more help.
Yeah, but he's not really accomplished anything in the doing so. So
this episode was really not for him at all.
Yeah.
Like, he really didn't do very much.
But like everything since he stayed behind, everything we've seen, he's not really accomplished much. You know, like Hugh, like dying and all that. Like, he's achieved nothing. He's protected no one, essentially, from what we've seen. So it all just feels like a bit of a weird choice that led to nothing of value for his character, that is. So
yeah,
that's a bit on the outside, that is a creative choice, but
hopefully his character pays off, because I do like him. I think he's an interesting character. I like his backstory. I like that he's like the young guy who's really naive to a lot of situations. And it almost has that like Cosmo Kramer effect where he asks things that probably shouldn't be asked, or most people would keep in.
So we had that, but with all the other stuff we had on the main ship, where some very intriguing things kicked off with Rios when he sees Soji. It's like he's seen a ghost. He can't kind of believe it. He's kind of like, and this came out of nowhere. This was like, wait, what?
Yeah,
what?
I did not expect that at all.
Why is he reacting to her? What's going on?
They can't know each other, so like, what is this?
Yeah, and again, it's one of these things where I as much as I do like kind of what comes up here, I do kind of wish maybe this was seeded a little bit better. Obviously, we knew he was in Starfleet, but maybe like a tease as to, like, you know, him, you know, sort of worshipping his captain, because that's not really been brought up until this episode either. That he was really close with his captain, and his captain ultimately committed suicide after. Which, by the way, how many characters in this show have committed suicide, or at least been referenced as committing suicide? There's been a lot of suicide. Star Trek.
Not the first time that Star Trek has dealt with suicide.
Yeah, but like this many times in one season?
Yeah, probably not. I think there's like one per series, maybe. There was definitely an episode that dealt with suicide in Deep Space Nine with Chief O'Brien, and then there's sort of a suicide-ish. It's more of a depression episode centered around B'Elanna Torres in Voyager, where she's gone through something so difficult and she's just, I don't know. And I always thought of that as kind of like she's right at the brink of this stage of depression where she considers suicide, but they sort of back away from that whole topic. But anyway, the one in Deep Space Nine is no question about suicide.
Do you want to shed some lore on us then about Deep Space 12, which is brought up in this episode, if there is any?
Well, I assume it's further from Earth than Deep Space Nine.
That makes sense. It's a higher number, makes sense. But no, so he recognizes it, and what we find out throughout the course of the episode, after he kind of goes and locks himself in his room and doesn't want to come out, and we meet more of the holograms, and like I appreciate the joke that the engineer hologram's Scottish, but that Scottish accent, the Irish one wasn't much better either, admittedly.
He sounds exactly like you.
He did not. He was breaking up. His actual accent was slipping through constantly. It was bad.
Well, maybe they're not programmed to be perfect.
Sounds exactly like me. How dare you? How dare you?
I thought maybe like you did some kind of dubbing for the show and kept this from me. I was like, wow, that sounds just like Peter.
I've got no words for that. Captain. Yeah, so do you want me to do some sort of Star Trek style speak? Let the slang slip in a little bit.
What did he say?
What,
I
there?
couldn't understand. Yeah. No words? I got no words?
I've got no words for that, Captain, is what I said.
Okay, thank you for the translation.
I've got no words for that, Captain. Nay. No turns into nay.
I mean, he sounded just like Fat Bastard.
Screw
which
you.
I assume was accurate.
Screw you so much. Do not bring up Fat Bastard in my presence. How dare you?
Maybe it's a little Shrek inspired. It's definitely Mike Myers inspired.
Meg Myers is not Scottish. Let me just remind everyone of that fact right now. He is also doing an impression.
Yes,
how dare
he's
you?
one of my people. He's a Canuck.
Yes, filthy Canadian. So, yes, very. So we find out as the episode goes on that he recognizes Soji because she looks identical to, I think it was Jana, someone he encountered. They brought aboard their ship when he was in Starfleet. This sort of ambassador and his assistant or whatever, and the woman was Jana, and the ambassador was this guy. And pretty quickly after meeting them and sort of like being friendly with them, the captain came in and killed both of them, and then very shortly thereafter killed himself.
Right in front of Rios too.
Yeah, and it seems to be an order from Commodore. Oh, this was a whole thing. This was basically them trying to like, and this was like, and this is the thing that I don't think they've actually made clear to us up until this point. It wasn't until this episode that I got this impression. The planet that Soji's from is actually got a lot of synths on it that are all functional. Like, I think.
Well, no, that's definitely a reveal, but we know that, the whole plot of Rizzo and her brother Narek, who wasn't in this episode,
thankfully,
that they were trying to get her to say where she was from because they wanted to get all of them, not just her. They did say that before. Yeah,
but that was the thing. Like, it always kind of said to me, like, oh no, he kind of made this pair, and it felt like, oh, maybe he had some like parts lying around. Maybe like, I never got the impression there was actually a society, which is what this episode made it sound like.
We speculated before that there were more Sojis than just the two that we've seen on the show.
Yes.
Because we brought up the whole like Data having a hand of 5 queens in the dream. Like maybe they're trying to tell us, there's more than just 2.
Why would Picard's dream have a foreshadowing?
We went over this in the
episode. Yes, but I'm reiterating that point because I think it's a very valid one to bring up. But yeah, so yeah. But here's the weird thing: is that when she is told this, when eventually everyone comes together to sit down and talk about everything, and they tell her everything they know, which was a little bit exposition-y. It almost felt like they were sort of like, because by this point in the episode, we've kind of heard all of this in parts and different pieces, and then this part was like, okay, just in case anyone's not gotten the whole story, we're going to sit down and explain it to Soji so that the audience get it completely spelled out for them. But it was, as soon as she hears all this and she kind of starts to sort of realize things or realize she's got the same taste sort of this Jana, because she also likes dipping her fries and whatever ice cream it was.
Ugh, peppermint ice cream.
Peppermint, yeah. Who likes peppermint?
Don't spoil French fries.
Don't spoil
by putting dairy on it. Gross.
Like, don't spoil ice cream by putting peppermint flavoring in it. Like,
really, peppermint?
Nah, spearmint's way better than peppermint. Peppermint's.
That is so wrong. I mean, cinnamon is the top. And then peppermint, and then spearmint, and then sometimes winter mint, but I don't really know what that is.
I don't know what cinnamon tastes like. There's usually 2 options here. It's peppermint or spearmint. And spearmint's the better of the 2.
Cinnamon's a top tier.
It's only just saying cinnamon, which is not a mint, but I'm assuming you're talking about a mint.
Well, it's like cinnamon.
Okay.
But like, you don't get cinnamon gum? Like cinnamon gum, you can get cinnamon toothpaste.
I've never encountered such a thing, though.
Oh, it's perfect.
I've never encountered it. I don't want my toothpaste to be spicy.
You think that. So you try it.
Don't want my toothpaste to be spicy. My Indian food, I like spicy.
It's not that kind of spicy, okay?
All right. So they explain all this, and she starts to remember things and know things, and they've actually been waiting at Deep Space 12 because... Or they're on the way to Deep Space 12, and they're going to wait there for the backup because Picard actually talks to the other admiral again and gets her to finally give in and give him some backup.
After another F-bomb?
I know. Oh, this one's out of frustration. She's like, "Oh, F it, Christ, shut up, Picard. I'm going to do it. All right." Like,
I know. I love his little victory, like
yeah,
fist bump after.
yeah, he's very pleased with himself. Did you like also the tease at the end where he sits in the captain's chair and the main theme kind of, the main next gen theme kind of kicks in, and then after a couple of seconds he's like, "I don't know how to work any of this fancy new hologram tech."
I know, that made me laugh.
I'm obsolete.
Plus, it was a good, like, I don't want to say like senior moment, but
Mm-hmm. Yes. So basically, Soji wants to go straight to this planet.
I'll
using...
program the microwave for you, Grandma.
Yeah. So Soji wants to go straight to the planet, our home planet, to warn them that the Romulans are on their way to destroy them. They're going to use these Borg jump gates to do it. So that wasn't the name of it. I'm sure you know the name because they were in previous series. As you were grabbing the cat. You don't? Okay, never mind.
No, I don't know the name. I know it's a real thing.
Yeah, no,
in the universe of Star Trek.
I saw people debating online if these were supposed to have been destroyed in Voyager, and then someone said no, they only destroyed one in Voyager. So it was definitely a thing in Voyager. But they have these jump gates, so they're going to use one of those.
That's how the Voyager ship gets home. Spoiler. They make it.
Yeah, so
hey, you were reading stuff already.
So
okay?
But I wasn't reading specific stuff. You just gave me the ending of Voyager. That's how they get home. The whole premise of the show is that they're lost in space.
Sorry. You'll forget. You're not gonna watch those episodes until like 10 years from now.
I'll remember. I'll remember because you said you'll forget. That's why I'll remember. You just cemented it.
Well, I know that you've been looking online, so.
Yeah, not for Voyager things. It was just people talking about this episode.
Mm-hmm.
And that little tidbit.
And not for title names of the next episodes.
No, not for title names of the next episodes. I did not look that up. I got that through sheer experience and talent and a bit of skill.
Mm-hmm.
Expertise.
Sounds like sheer effing hubris to me.
I definitely have that. I don't dispute that. I'm a big fan of the sheer effing hubris. So that's what they're going. She kind of convinces them to go at the end. She kind of knows where to go. She knows how to use this gate. All these kind of skills kind of triggered in her mind when she was told what she was told. She seems to have all these things kicking in. There's still a lot of things she doesn't know. I'm going to take a wild guess here and say that one of your favourite scenes of this episode is her one-on-one with Picard when they're eating, and she asks about Data, and Picard has to describe Data and talk about how much he meant to him, and then she asked, "Did Data love you?" Is it? Well, I don't know. I'd like to think he thought of me this way and this way, and then she says Data loved you, which actually sets up the idea that when things come up, she kind of gets an inkling of maybe something that was like shared.
It's true.
Yeah.
I mean, this whole series so far, she's been saying like, "How did I know that?" Things just pop in her head, and she just knows, and then she's like, "I don't know how I knew that, but I do. So I must have heard it somewhere." And the way she says it was such like, yeah, he loved you. It was just so blanket,
But how did the scene make you feel, Tara?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I love all the fan pandering, like straight to my veins, please. Thank you.
Whoa.
Yes.
Oh. I would not call this fan pandering per se. There's other stuff that is straight up fan service. This is actually kind of important. Given that we're dealing with Data's daughter, we're dealing with Picard. Important. This scene's all important, yes. The other fan service isn't necessarily important. That's the difference between fan service and this, because this actually does serve a purpose.
Straight to the veins.
Oh my god. Everything's a 10. Everything's perfect. There's no point in talking about anything. It's just everything's great. End the review.
I told you that this was gonna happen.
I'm not allowed to specify or say something's better than something else, or
you can say why both are great.
Or should I even dare, critique something?
We did see Data in the little flash thing from the opening scene. Did you see it?
A quick flash of data in the apocalyptic
Yeah.
vision. Actually, this is probably a good
You
time
have
to.
like this like android thing, and then it becomes Data's face for like a brief second.
Well, yeah, because I guess the implication is that, like, not to borrow something from another sci-fi show, but all of this has happened before, and all this will happen again. This idea that this ancient race this bad stuff happened with the Sins, this ancient race. So this is the other thing I talked about. Rafi's kind of trying to figure it out throughout the episode. Is that there's this system where there's 8 suns in this really specific formation with one planet in the middle, and what's the chances of that naturally happening? And it's like, yeah, pretty much none. So someone did this, some advanced civilization did this on purpose, and it was this was the warning. It was, hey, we're warning you about synthetics.
Because in the center of it, there's a planet. Yeah. So it's a little bit. It's not just a warning; it's a way to get the attention of people who are, obviously advanced enough to create space travel.
So, and they also said the idea that there's kind of like someone who will. See, I wasn't clear if they were talking about 2 beings or 1 being, because they talk about how obviously that Soji, the Romulans believe that she is the destroyer, right? And I wasn't sure if they were saying that she's going to bring forth like this other being that did this in the past, or if she just is the being that's supposed to do everything.
Well, no, because they made the comparison to First Contact, like because First Contact.
Well, this is what I'm talking about. Yeah,
because humans developed warp drive, all of a sudden they became interesting, and so someone was there to greet them. And the idea that Soji here is a level of technology of AI that has never been achieved before. They break this like threshold, and now something else is going to greet them. Yeah. So I thought it was something else, and I'm 90% sure it's Control from Discovery season 2.
Oh sure. Well, I mean, maybe we'll see. But that's what I was getting at, is because that particular example they gave about the warp drive inviting something else, and what you just said there, yeah, I agree with that. That Soji has to be the warp drive in that scenario, right? That she's the new advancement that's going to attract this unwanted party who's dangerous, perhaps. That's the kind of the point here, is that the thing that their synthetics in this 200,000 years ago civilization attracted was something that ended up destroying them all and caused the apocalypse on their planet, or planets, depending if they were spread out. All that.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe it is Control, and if it is, that brings up a lot of cool theories, because we had that episode with Ariam where Control took over her, and she had that positronic matrix sort of in her head, because she was mostly synthetic at that point, even though she started off as human. Because that Control was able to use her as a conduit. I
have to mention something here. It'd be ridiculous for me not to. Now, you won't get this, but this is very Mass Effect. This plot line has suddenly turned into Mass Effect, and it's actually kind of shocking how similar now this is to the plot of Mass Effect 1 and 2 particularly.
Do you get to choose which robot alien that you're going to marry? Isn't that a thing in Mass Effect for dudes?
and girls too. If you play as femship, you get to marry too. I mean, that's a thing. Actually, now I think about it, there's no marriage. It's just romance and sex. There's no marriage.
Pervs.
Which fine, but the plot, this idea of an ancient civilization that fell apart because of some third party. Eventually in the third game, the third party actually came and you got to fight them. But the first two, it was like, okay, this third party destroyed, and like we're finding these ancient artifacts that are telling us and giving us visions of what happened in the past and how we should maybe try and avoid it or fight it. Like, there's a lot of Mass Effect in this plot, and I'm not saying they stole it or anything. Maybe it's just purely coincidental. Very well could be, but
I think it's not necessarily original to Mass Effect either. The idea that we can create a technology that will advance us and destroy us.
Well, but no, Mass Effect has nothing to do with technology, though. Well, actually, no, it may have been, actually. Yeah.
I mean, that's also the point of 2001: A Space Odyssey, that humanity is on the brink of going to the next stage of evolution. But if we don't destroy ourselves first by creating something that will ultimately destroy us.
Yes. No, I'm trying to think because obviously the Geth are a big part of. Yeah, no, I think it was to do with technology because because the choice you make at the end of the third game was to do with synthetic versus organic life. Yeah. I think it was to do with technology in a way as well. But yeah, it's been a while. I need to replay Mass Effect Trilogy. Apparently, that's what I've discovered here. But
I've been told that I should play it too, but
it does seem up.
It's hard for me to go back to games that I've missed.
It does seem up your alley. I feel like if they ever come to Stadia, since you're a weirdo with Stadia, maybe the perfect opportunity to
maybe.
put it on.
It's hard for me. If they get a remaster, I'll do it.
All right, deal. You heard it, folks. You heard it. That's a commitment. This is basically a blood oath.
But I don't want to like ship characters or however the young people say it.
You don't have to ship. I don't ship characters. I've never shipped a thing in my life. Wait, yeah, if you want a romance, you can flirt with the person you want to have a romance with, and if not, you can just not do it. But I will say this though: if you want all the achievements, you might have to. Because I don't
trying to
really
get away from that.
Yes.
Trying to get off all drugs. Okay.
That includes
including trophies.
The dopamine from trophies. Yes, gotta get off that dopamine. So anyway, but no, interesting stuff here. Like, I feel like whatever this like third party that comes that came and destroyed or came and like almost destroyed this civilization. Like, I feel like that has to be kind of a tease for where we're going in season 2 and 3. Like, I don't expect to see that thing before the end of the season, but I wonder if that's setting up maybe what the big bad's going to be in season 3, for example.
Maybe. We only have the 2 episodes left.
Yeah. So I feel like ultimately, like, I don't think we're going to get rid of all synthetics. I feel like even if Soji dies, there's going to be synth life will continue in some form or other. And maybe that does still leads to this third party coming in. But I don't know. I mean, obviously this completely threw out all the theories we were throwing around earlier on about something to do with the Borg. They accidentally create the Borg or something, or well, that was a live vehicle.
Yeah.
That said, though,
sometimes
I wonder if the Borg will somehow end up connected to whatever the third party was that came in.
Well, I mean,
that's possible, right?
Yeah, I guess. Also, I mean, now we have a Borg cube that both Eleanor and 7 of 9 are in control of.
Yeah, are they going to show up to help in the big fight in like episode 10, and this cube's just going to appear like in orbit of the planet and be like, hey, we're here, the cavalry's here.
What if the Borg being connected to the Borg cube is kind of like a drug for 7, and she just got a taste of it, and now she like wants to go back to it.
Okay.
Maybe she can be like the big baddie at the end of season 2 or 3. Oh,
that'd be interesting if to do with that route. Yeah, I could see that.
Maybe this isn't the last. Maybe this is just a little taste. little dip the toe in, see if it's good. See if the water's warm.
Yes.
How fans react to it.
Yes, I'm imagining a new drug addict just saying that about their first taste. Just I'm just dip my toe in, just see if it's good. Let's see if this heroin's any good. Just a little dip.
Yeah. See what all the fuss is about. It can't be that good.
Turns out I actually quite enjoy that. I think I'll keep doing this. I'm imagining just this logical, thought process, as opposed to like a crack addict who's just kind of like, I need more. Like, no.
I'm clean now. I sold my PlayStation 4.
Oh dear.
Back on the Switch.
Back on the Switch, yes. The back to the gateway drug.
Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah. Animal Crossing is definitely a drug, and it's coming out soon.
Yes. You know how Disney have been releasing stuff early because of everything going on? I saw people on Twitter begging Nintendo, just do Animal Crossing now.
Just please, yes. Then I won't have to fight, internally on which game to play first, Animal Crossing or Doom Eternal. They're both my favorite franchises.
Yes,
anyway.
well, yes. So
I like this episode.
Well, yeah, the episode's mostly good because it's mostly doing stuff. I mean, we should probably talk about Jurati waking up and Picard's reaction to like what she is and what she's been doing. Obviously, if she eventually like sort of opens up and like tells them everything, and which leads to the big scene again. She provides some information for that group scene, but like I really like Picard's sort of thing where he didn't instantly just believe she was a traitor. He's like, "What is that fiction or is that fact or theory?" Was the line. And then when she's talking to him and he's like, "You have to turn yourself in Deep Space 12," and she sort of cries and says, "She will." I kind of felt his disappointment. It was like really kind of sad. Like,
it's like
Picard.
like your dad talking down to you, like, yeah I screwed up.
Yeah,
I know. Okay, I'm grounded.
Except in this case, the screw up was murdering a man. So
yeah, although she did say something about like how she was in. Not only was she said her mind was poisoned by Commodore O, which I thought was an interesting way to phrase it. Not just that, but there was some kind of a blocker to where she wasn't able to tell anybody exactly what happened.
Yeah,
or about it.
The poison I was taking as like once those images get in her head, it's kind of like she can't stop thinking about them. So it's like it's this infection that's just there now.
Yeah, but it also indicates like she was sick, like she wasn't really in control of it. And if she had been, like, maybe Maddox would still be alive. It's a little bit like, did she kill him or did Commodore O kill him through her?
I think she did.
I'm not saying she's forgiven. I'm saying if they want to find a route around that, it might be possible.
The way she did it and the way she spoke as she was doing it, it was her. Like, I think she was, even if she wasn't in complete control, she was very consciously aware of what she was doing at the time.
Yeah.
So I would say that, but those scenes were good. The scene where Soji comes to see her and she's like in awe of her, and she's like, what do you do when you're thirsty? I drink. You drink. It's beautiful.
I know. She was great in that scene.
She's so impressed.
She was the Jurati that we were expecting to see all along. Like, oh, that's who she was supposed to be.
Which makes it bittersweet.
Yeah. Like, she is genuinely so excited to meet her.
Before we wrap up, I mean, is there anything else you want to talk about? I guess the only thing that I would say I want to mention is the scene where all the holograms are together and Raffi's trying to get them to talk about what's going on with Rios. And they don't really have like all the information because they've all been kind of fragmented.
Yeah. They're all just parts of it. I like the reveal also that he did an initial like scan, an accidental like self-scan for all of the holograms, but then never bothered to change it back, so maybe it wasn't actually an accident. But he still tells all the holographic versions of him that it was. I think a captain should have a little bit of, what's the word I'm looking for? Self-love.
Self-love. Sure, yeah. So obviously the big thing that happens at the end is that when they go through the gate to go to the planet, a Romulan ship which was cloaked appears and follows them through. Presumably Narek, how he kept following them after all this.
Well, he knows where to go, so I think he didn't follow them. I think he just went to the spot and cloaked and waited for them because he knows where the planet is.
Yeah, but this is not where the planet is. This is the gate that's going to take them to another gate that will be somewhere near the planet. So
okay.
So this is not that obvious. My guess would be that maybe the Admiral told Commodore O, rather, and maybe that's how he got the information. But I mean, it's not really that important. But
no, because they were going. He told Commodore O, not Commodore. Picard told the Admiral that they were going to Deep Space 12.
That's true. Okay.
And that's all.
Yeah, you're right.
And they've already rerouted because Soji took over the ship, which was another kind of cool scene. It reminded me of Data, because sometimes Data went rogue.
Yes.
And took over the ship really easily, and everyone was suddenly put in their place and realized, oh, he's like the most dangerous person in the universe. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's in pursuit.
Yeah, I just assumed, like, oh yeah, of course he would be there because he lost track of them. So instead, he's going to go to a place that they're probably going to get to eventually and wait it out. But
yeah, but that doesn't make any sense though, because like this is not the destination. This is like the highway entry
well, maybe
point.
That's not a secret.
Yeah, but how would he know where they are? Like, and like how would he know that's the gate they're nearest?
Maybe there's only one?
There can't just be one. There has to be more than one.
Why? There's no rule.
Because it's a whole network. They say that there's like a system.
Oh, well, maybe this is the main highway that people use.
Whatever.
It's like going to San Francisco and not taking the Golden Gate Bridge. Who does that?
For the record, I'm not critiquing this. I'm assuming this is something they might tell us next episode. I'm just saying that, given the information we have, he shouldn't know that they were going to be there, or as far as we were concerned, he couldn't track them anymore.
It's just an intriguing mystery.
Yes.
We will find out next week on.
Yes. Or maybe it'll turn out that he was able to track them some other way, and that's why he knows. Whatever. The point being is that for what we knew, he shouldn't have known they were there. But that's all. That's all. All right.
The android thing that turns into Data in the little premonition. Do you think she looks like, or the she? Do you think the android looks a lot like Arium from Discovery, or is it just coincidence? Like that's just the sleek design that they use now.
Coincidence, I think.
Okay.
But I mean, who's to say? I don't know. Because even the androids they had on Mars were kind of, they had that bald look going.
Mm. I thought they looked kind of like they were more like Data's design. Oh. I thought it looked a bit like Arium, but maybe not. Maybe it's just coincidence. I don't like the ship.
I think you're desperate to connect Star Trek Discovery to this, and I'm not so sure it's going to happen.
I don't know. I'm pretty convinced that Control is the big baddie from this. You don't think so?
I feel like Control's more likely to show up in Discovery again, not in this.
Well, because in order to get rid of Control, they just sent it to the future. Uh-oh. What's going on, Kitty?
They didn't send it to the future. What are you talking about?
Did they? Didn't they send Control to the future?
Oh, Control. I'm thinking of the AI that's on the ship in the short trek. Sorry, I was thinking of another thing. I feel like Control, if anything, will end up in Discovery again rather than in this. But I mean,
maybe
because they said it further in the future than this. So I'm not in the theory of connecting the two. I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible. I mean, it could happen, and if so, fair play. But I don't think.
Well, it wouldn't make sense that if it went to the future, that it would communicate with the past unless it had some kind of way to do that, and maybe like a superior intelligence would know how to do that. So it's not like totally unbelievable that in this Star Trek universe they would be connected.
I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just not expecting it. Like, I feel like Picard will do its own Picard things. Discovery will do its own Discovery things.
The Picard fans who were so grateful to have this and not Discovery anymore are going to be so upset if it turns out to be a Discovery plotline.
Yeah, I don't see them being connected. Yeah, I feel like, I mean, Picard fans who are happy to get Picard and it's not Discovery probably lost that feeling anyway once they started actually watching the show, because it's far closer to Discovery in style than it is Next Gen, which is I think what maybe some people were really hoping for.
Yeah, I don't like the design of the ship that they're on, the La Serena. Mm-hmm. It's just, I miss carpet, I think. I know carpet sucks because you have to vacuum it. But like I miss that like Hyatt design, Four Seasons hotel look. It felt homely. I don't know. This is just so like an open room with a bunch of lights everywhere, and nothing's tactile because everything's a digital display that the actors are just going.
Yeah, no, no, I get the tactile thing. I mean, as far as the lights and stuff, like, oh yeah, they have to have lots of lens flares now. It has to be dark, but with somehow they make it look much darker, but with a lot of lights in the background. But it's darker than what it used to be. Like I feel like you watch Next Gen and everything is brightly lit, but there's like no lights.
Yeah,
there's no lights actually on the set.
A stadium light at night. I don't know. It's what it is. Like that's a design of the future that probably won't look dated like the other Star Trek shows do. But I don't know. I miss it. I miss it a little bit. And I liked Picard sitting down in the captain's chair and going, I don't know how to do any of this. I miss it too, Picard.
Yeah. I mean, there's lots of things that I miss. Like, I'd be happy if we got a proper old school Star Trek show, but they're just not interested in making those right now.
No, I mean, they're doing whatever is trendy, and CW is trendy, so we go with those kind of designs, I guess. But it's okay. I mean, I still have, three series of Star Treks that all take place at the same time and everything looks the same that I can go back to. That's plenty of Star Trek. Mm-hmm. And this is a new Star Trek, and I've already accepted that. And it is still a 10. I just think the ship is a bit cold. I don't know. Just put some maybe paint the walls or something.
Still a 10.
Put a rug down. Have some chairs that look comfortable.
But still a 10 apparently. Yeah. Here's a list of things I have wrong with this, but it's still a 10.
No, it's flawless.
This episode was a solid 7 out of 10. So that
what? Does not compute.
Solid 7 out of 10. This is what it was. All right.
10 out of 10.
That is the episode of Star Trek Picard. Obviously, we're back next week with episode 9. We're getting close to the end game of the season, so it should be exciting. Hopefully,
episode 8 is next.
What?
Isn't episode 8 next? Wasn't the 7?
This was 8.
Oh, it was?
There's only 2 left.
I thought this was a 9-season show. Or 9-episode season.
That's 10 episodes. This was episode 8, and we have 9 and 10 to go.
Close.
Yes.
I've had a long week.
Yeah, so that part earlier on where I edited something out to make you sound really smart, all for nothing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Editing is futile.
Anyway, you can let us know what you think in the comments below about this episode of Star Trek Picard. You can like and comment. No, like and subscribe. That's what I usually say. Like and subscribe. Ding the bell.
Finally, everything's back to level again.
Yeah, it's all falling apart here at the end. You can, of course, support us by rating the podcast on Apple Podcasts. Give us 5 stars. More people will find us that way. You can support us financially, of course. Tara, bring it home.
Yeah, if you like what we do and you want to support the channel, you can check out our Patreon page. It's patreon.com/SmileFuzzTV, and donating as low as $1 per month will get you bonus episodes of other shows we do, including the ACE, the Atomic Cinema Experiment, which is our science fiction movie review show. And lots of entertaining conversations and antics, and watch and review movies with us. Thank you.
Somehow the way you say thank you at the end of that little speech is more and more like you've just accepted an award, and you're you're just like, and thank you before you scat
I'd like
off
to thank
stage.
God, my mom, my manager, they're the same.
I feel like this is particularly like a beauty pageant acceptance speech we're getting now.
Well, obviously.
Yeah. Yes. So anyway, thank you very much once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching Star Trek, guys. To everyone but Connor, live long and prosper.